Hi, you guys. Welcome back to The World is the Word. The Word is Beautiful, day 2. I am reading through the Bible from a plan that allows you to read through the whole thing 15 minutes a day. So I thought if I read for those who don't have time, then you can listen while you're doing something else and get through this amazing book that's changed my life. All right, let's get going. So we're in Mark 4. The parable of the sower, one of my favorites. And he began to teach again by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat at the sea. And the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine, Hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. And it came to pass, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased and brought forth, some 30, some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was alone, they that were with him, with the 12, asked him of the parable. And he said unto them, Unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. But unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, that they seeing may see and not perceive, and hearing they hear and not understand, lest any time they should be converted and their sins should be forgiven them. And he said unto them, Know ye not this parable? And how then will you know all parables? And the sower soweth the word. And these are they by the wayside, where the word is sown, but when they have heard, Satan comes up immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts. And these that are likewise which are sown onto stony ground, who when they heard the word immediately receive it with gladness, and they have no root in themselves, and so endure for a time. Afterward, with affliction or with persecution arise for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. And these are they which are sown among the thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lust of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. And these are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word, and receive it, and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. So it's a lesson about staying in the word. I know when I started reading, I really struggled. But when you stick with it, it starts to really make a lot of sense and open up to you in amazing ways. Parables about the kingdom. And he said unto them, Is a candle brought to be put under a bushel or under a bed, and not to be set on a candlestick? For there is nothing hid which shall not be manifested, neither is anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad. If any man has ears to hear, let him hear. And he said unto them, Take heed what ye hear, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you, and unto you that hear shall more be given. For he that hath, to him shall be given, and he that hath not, from him it shall be taken, even to that which he hath. And he said, So is the kingdom of God, as if a man should cast seed into the ground, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up, he knoweth not how. For the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself, first the blade, then the ear, and after that the full corn in the ear. But when the fruit is brought forth, immediately he putteth in the sickle, because the harvest is to come. And he said, Whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of heaven, or with what comparison shall we compare it? It is like a grain of mustard seed, which when it is sown in the earth is less than all the seeds that be in the earth. But when it is sown, it groweth up and becometh greater than all herbs, and shooteth out great branches, so the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. And with many such parables spake he the word unto them, as they were able to hear it. But a parable spoke he not unto them, and when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples. So he was speaking in parables so that most people could understand. But I love this on a mustard seed. It's if you plant like the tiniest little seed, it becomes this big tree, and it makes loads of mustard. It's pretty awesome. And that's the way studying the word is. It becomes a little seed, and then it grows in your life and brings you peace as it has me. The storm stilled, And the same day, when the even was come, he said unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? That brings us to Mark 5, devils cast out. And they came over unto the outer side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling place among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he hath been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and he cried with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. Sorry, I can hear the little kittens crying. I hope you can't hear them, but they're in the corner. They always seem to start crying when I'm on the lives. And he said unto them, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding, and all the devils besought him, saying, Send us unto the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled and told it to the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that was done. And they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with a devil, and he had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right hand, and they were afraid. And they saw it and told him how it befell to them that he was possessed of the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coast. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. So we have this man possessed with a demon, and Jesus cast him out. And this is also, we talked about healing of leprosy was a messianic miracle. This one was too. And so people should have known that he was the Messiah by the miracles he was doing, but some people didn't want to listen. And you can see here in the town that some of these people kicked him out for all the good that he was doing. But the man who he healed was super grateful. Jairus' daughter raised, and when Jesus was passed over by a ship into the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth in point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood for 12 years. Can you even imagine? And had suffered many things and many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was was nothing better, but grew worse. So she'd gone off to the doctor and spent all this money. Sounds like today, doesn't it? Trying to get something healed and didn't get any better. And when she heard of Jesus, she came in the press behind and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I will be made whole. Talk about faith, huh? And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she fell in her body, and she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell before him and told him the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. Be whole of thy plague. And that's all it takes for Jesus to clean up our lives, is to have faith that he can do it. And he's done it for me, and he'll do it for you. When he had spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? And as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. And he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept, wailing greatly. And when he was come in, he saith unto them, Why make thee this ado and weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. But when he had put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him, and entered where the damsel was lying. And he took the damsel by the hand, and said unto her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was the age of 12 years old, and they were astonished with a great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given to her to eat. So we've got several examples here of faith and of healings of Jesus being shown. Mark 6, Jesus rejected at Nazareth, and he went out from thence and came into his own country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, From whence hath this man these things? And what wisdom is this that is given unto him, that even such mighty works are wrought by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? And they were offended at him. But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, and in his own house. And he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. So he grew up in this village of Nazareth, and they wanted nothing to do with him. And he went around about the villages teaching. The mission of the 12. And he called unto him the 12, and began to send them forth 2 by 2, and gave them power over unclean spirits, and commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save only a staff, no scrip, no bread, no money in their purse, but be shod with sandals, and do not put on coats. And he said unto them, In what place soever ye enter into a house, there abide ye, depart from that place. And whosoever shall not receive you nor hear you when you depart thence, shake off the dust from under your feet for a testimony against them. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. And they went out and preached that men should repent. And they cast out many devils, and anointed with oil many that were sick, and healed them. Death of John the Baptist. And King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad, and said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works to show forth themselves unto him. Others said that he was Elijah, and others said it's a prophet, or one of the prophets. But Herod heard thereof, and said, It is John, whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead. So John the Baptist had been beheaded by Herod, and we hear more about that in the other Gospels. For Herod himself had sent forth and laid, had sent forth and laid hold upon John, and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. So he's married to his sister-in-law, and it was forbidden, and John called that out, and he didn't like it. For John said unto Herod, It is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. Clearly. Therefore, Herodias had quarrel against him and would have killed him, but she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and a holy, and observed him. And when he heard him, he did many things, and heard him gladly. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. And when the daughter of the said Herodias came in and danced, and pleased Herod, and them that sat with him, the king said unto the damsel, Ask of me of whatever thou wilt, and I will give it to thee. And he sware unto her, Whatsoever thou shalt ask of me, I will give it to thee, even unto the half of my kingdom. And she went forth and said to her mother, What shall I ask? And she said, The head of John the Baptist. She wanted him dead. And she came in straightway with haste unto the king, and asked, saying, I will that thou give me on a charger the head of John the Baptist. And the king was exceedingly sorry, yet for his oath and for their sakes which sat with him, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent an executioner, and commanded his head to be brought, and he went and beheaded him in prison. and brought his head on a charger and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mother. And when the disciples heard of it, they came and took up his corpse and laid it in a tomb. Sad, isn't it? Speaking the truth. Some people don't want to hear it. The 5,000 fed, and the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus and told him all the things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into the desert place and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by ship privately. And the people saw him departing, and many knew him, and ran afoot thither out of all the cities. And out went them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, saw much people, and he was moved with compassion toward them, because they were as sheep, not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, This is a desert place. Now the time is far past. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about and into the villages and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. And he answered and said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they said unto them, Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread and give to eat? And he said, How many loaves do you have? Go and see. And when they knew, they said, 5 and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit by the companies on the green grass, and they sat down in ranks by hundreds and by 50s. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed and brake the loaves and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes he divided among them all. And they did eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments and of the fishes. And they did eat of the loaves, were about 5,000 men. I love this on having 12 baskets left, because there were 12 disciples. So God had provided for his own as well. So they served first, and then they were taken care of. Isn't that beautiful? Jesus walks on the sea, and straightway he constrained his disciples to get into the ship to go to the other side, before unto Bethsaida. And while he went away, while he sent away the people, and when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when he was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about a 4th watch of the night he came unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them and said, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up unto them into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered, for they considered not the miracle of the heavens, for their heart was hardened. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret, and drew to the shore. And when they were come out of the ship, straightway they knew him. And he ran that whole region round about, and began to carry about beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And whithersoever he entered into the villages or cities or country, they laid the sick on the streets, and besought him that they might touch it, if it were but the border of his garment. And as many as touched him were made whole. That brings us to the end of Luke 6. I ran a few minutes over. Sorry about that, but we're really close. With that, be blessed, and hopefully, God willing, I'll be back tomorrow for day 3. We're going to read the Bible in a year together. It's amazing. Bye, y'all.